Sports Illustrated's Peter King joins us now. I want to get his take. Peter, how you doing?
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm all right. What do you think of what Goodell did, and why was it just 2 games?
Well, as I looked at this last night, one of the things that I thought was, obviously there's going to be a lot of hue and cry over this case, and rightfully so, because it does appear to be tone deaf. But then I think you look at it a little bit deeper, and you see the extenuating circumstances on it, and you see that Ray Rice was probably the Ravens' best guy in the community, flawless record, 6 years in the NFL. And when he went to meet with Goodell on June 16th in New York, he and his wife, Geno Palmer, went up, and I'm told that his wife gave an impassioned plea, basically, do not do this to my husband. This is a one-time thing. It's never happened between us before. We were drinking. We lost control, and la-di-da-di-da. Now, I'm not in any way defending anything that Ray Rice did in that elevator. I'm just simply saying that's why, in my opinion, he got 2 games. Now, what would I have done? I still would have given him 4 for a very simple reason. The NFL has given tremendous attention to this topic, has given tremendous lip service to this topic. Every year when the players, the rookies come in, and they are, they come into a rookie symposium, they're, a very, very stern and serious conversation with them about domestic violence. It's never right to put your hands on a woman. And he put his hands on a woman, regardless of the circumstances that were surrounding it. And so I think that it should have been 4 games. I'm just saying I understand why it's 2.
What gets me, and what John Harbaugh said that bothered me too, it was just one bad day. Well, OJ just had one bad day too. A lot of criminals just have that one bad day, and they have to serve their time for that one bad day. Even if he's a great guy, what he did was just an awful, awful thing.
Right. Well, I think, at this point, I think the NFL understands in the last 24 hours they've gotten beaten about the head so severely, not only by the press, but by the public.
Yep.
And when I wrote this morning what I basically just said to you, that, here's why I thought it was 2, I have to say that in the 5 years I've been on Twitter, I don't believe that I've ever taken as much criticism for basically not joining the pile-on crowd. The reason that I didn't join the pile-on crowd is very simple. When I sat down to write at 8 o'clock last night, the pile-on crowd basically had picked apart the carcass.
Right.
That part of the story I felt was over, and I knew some things about it, having been in Baltimore during the day at Ravens camp. I knew some things that other people didn't know, and so I felt like that was the best way to do this story. But be that as it may, the point that I'm making is that this is a tremendously emotional issue, and I think Ray Rice really has been chastened by this, Micah. You could see yesterday, talking to a couple of people who have been around the Ravens far longer than Ray Rice's 6+ years, they thought that, and I'm not around that team, I'm around the team once or twice a year, obviously, but I thought that Ray seemed really sort of, almost depressed about it, and they echoed that sentiment that this has really hit Ray Rice very, very hard.
Talking with Peter King, SI senior writer. Before we actually move on to real football, I want to ask you this. I brought it up yesterday, and Dave Rothenberg kind of laughed at me. Because the sentiment against the 2-game suspension is so overwhelmingly negative, is there even a scintilla of a chance that Roger Goodell would reassess?
There's no way he can. I suppose if there was new information brought in front of him, he'd reassess. But there's no way he can now. He's issued his ruling. The ruling is final. And I think they're going to move on.
All right, Peter, you are on the trail, as you always are, before the season begins. You've been to the Bills, the Giants, the Ravens. You're at the Redskins today. You'll be at the Eagles tomorrow. So the places that you've been, what's impressed you?
In Buffalo, Sammy Watkins, the rookie wide receiver, was extremely impressive. He's got all the gifts. He's totally unafraid out there. The play he made that I'll remember for a long time is Leotis McKelvin, veteran corner, is across from him in bump coverage. And, they don't have pads on, so they're supposed to just basically just touch each other but not be physical with each other. Well, Sammy Watkins came across the line, and he just blasted Leotis McKelvin. And they both went down in a heap. He's not afraid of anything. He's going to be a very, very interesting foe for Rex Ryan to match up against twice a year for the next 6 or 8 years, or whoever the coach is with the Jets. I went to the Giants, and I thought what was interesting there is Eli Manning really throwing short more than I've ever seen him say in a practice before. And obviously, again, I parachute into these places, and even though I live in Manhattan, I'm not at many Giants practices. So I don't know everything about the Giants in any way. But Eli Manning and Ben McAdoo, I think this is going to be a good offense for him. He seems comfortable to be throwing little shots out to the side to Victor Cruz, to Odell Beckham Jr., even though he wasn't practicing. He seems comfortable doing that and letting them make plays with the ball. On the other side of the ball, I think Jason Pierre-Paul holds the key, Michael, to the rejuvenation of that Giants defense. And he told me for the first time since 2011 he feels absolutely, totally healthy. And when I said to him, so can you be a great defensive end again? He interrupted me even before I finished, and he goes, I am a great defensive end. And I think he's tired of everybody sort of throwing dirt on his grave, and he wants to show people. Just one quick highlight from Baltimore and Washington. In Baltimore, I thought what was really interesting is seeing old man Steve Smith, 35 years old, in his first NFL practice ever, not for the Carolina Panthers, coming off the line and playing like he's a rookie free agent trying to make the team, which is just the way he is. I was pretty impressed with him. And then Washington, you walk away. That's a mystery team in a mystery division. I mean, does anybody really have a great feel about Washington and the new coach, Jay Gruden? So that's, it's really been, I've seen, clearly I've seen half the division, and I'll see the third team in the division tomorrow, but I think the NFC East is the most mysterious division in football this year. Just no idea what to expect.
All right, so you're there in the Redskin camp, and other than football, all of the controversy surrounding that name, is that a name that's going to change, you think, from what you hear?
Well, Michael, I wrote earlier this week that I thought that Washington would have a new nickname by 2016, and some people made a big deal of that. And it's like I told people in camp today, I don't have any inside knowledge. I just feel the winds of change coming, and I don't know what Daniel Snyder is going to be able to do about it other than, if the tide stems a bit this year. I don't see it happening. There's an awful lot of politicians now involved in it. The federal government is involved with basically rescinding the trademark of the word Redskins. It has become a firestorm topic. And my biggest thing, if I'm Daniel Snyder, I keep thinking, do I want my general manager, Bruce Allen, to be spending time, and in some cases significant time, during the course of the year, defending and fighting to retain a nickname? I mean, is Howie Roseman in Philadelphia fighting to retain the name Eagles? Jerry Reese, the Giants. I mean, those guys are all football all the time. And I think Bruce Allen is spending time with legal people and everything talking about this issue, which doesn't mean anything when it comes to whether a team wins or loses. So I just think I think it's a matter of time. I might be wrong, but I think the NFL really deep down is hoping that Dan Snyder will choose to make this change voluntarily instead of being forced to by people beyond his control.
Peter King of mmqb.com and also SI senior writer. I know you haven't been there yet, and before I let you go, what's the whispers around pro football about the Jets? Do they think they could be very good this year?
I think clearly they're going to be competitive defensively because Rex Ryan's teams always are. And I think the whole question is, and it's a terrible cliche, but is Geno Smith good enough to hold off Michael Vick? And then is Geno Smith good enough to win 9 or 10 games? Because, it's so funny. The other three teams in the division that have been chasing New England for 115 years, at least it seems that way. Miami with Ryan Tannehill, the Jets with Geno Smith or Michael Vick, and then the Bills with E.J. Manuel. Every single one of those teams, it all comes down. They all have defenses that can hold teams, good teams, to the teams. But it all comes down to E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, and Ryan Tannehill. And again, I think Tannehill is the best of the three of those. But the team whose quarterback plays the best of those three, I think, finishes second in the division to New England.